Tens of thousands of federal government workers could be on strike by Wednesday. Their union president issued an ultimatum last hour in Ottawa.
Despite some progress at the bargaining table, our members are frustrated that while negotiations drag on, they continue to fall behind. We've already been at the table for nearly 2 years, and these workers can't wait any longer. That's why we're setting a clock on this round of bargaining. If there is no deal reached by 9 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow, April 18th, I am authorizing a national general strike beginning at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Time, Wednesday, April 19th, for all 155,000 PSAC members working for both the Canada Revenue Agency and Treasury Board.
And the CBC's Janice McGregor has been following the story for us from Ottawa. As she tells us, there is a lot of pressure on both sides to reach a deal.
Look, if you're around Ottawa today, I can tell you that there is some evidence of this union, which is large. We are talking about potentially 155,000 civil servants, or 159,000, sort of part of these bargaining groups. There are some of them who have been declared essential, but about 2/3 of them could be walking by Wednesday morning if they're not able to work this out. The porta potties, the trailers are coming out, a sign of readiness, you could say. Trudeau saying they need to stay focused at the table. But also talking about the balancing act that needs to be struck here. Yes, they're saying their wages are not keeping up with the cost of living given current rates of inflation, but also inflationary pressures on the government too, and having to sort of keep in mind that by this summer, they're hoping inflation will be going down, that they need to sort of keep other kind of aspects of the big picture for taxpayers in mind when they decide how much they're going to pay the civil service moving forward. I can tell you we've had statements of solidarity from some of the other bargaining groups that aren't in a legal strike position, including the union that represents professionals in the civil service. So we'll see what acts of solidarity they might get up to if the strike does happen. Very quickly, though, maybe useful to remind people of this point. Would they be legislated back to work? That is a question that was put to Chris Aylward, the president of the union in question here. Here's what he had to say earlier this morning.
You know, if this government, who is committed to introducing anti-scab legislation before the end of this year, then I hope they're not real quick on the trigger on back-to-work legislation. Again, if you believe what the federal minister of Labour said, Seamus O'Regan, that this government believes in workers, then if you believe in workers, then allow us the right to strike and don't legislate us back to work.
So the politics on this are going to be a little tricky for the Liberals. If there is a strike, if they were inclined to end it quickly in the House of Commons, could they work with the NDP? Would that be something the NDP would be willing to do? It helps them pass its budgets, but would it do this, given its ties to the Labour movement? Or would they have to find another party willing to work with them to pass back-to-work legislation? Don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but should this come to pass on Wednesday, this will be a big political conversation to watch.
That is the CBC's Janice McGregor reporting from Ottawa. Now, as we heard during a press conference last hour, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau was asked about those contract negotiations, and he said the government is committed to good faith talks. He reiterated that the best place for those is at the bargaining table.
Inflation is coming down. The experts predict that it'll be down to much more manageable levels by this summer. But at the same time, we recognize that we need to make sure that we're properly supporting those who work in our public service. That's why conversations have been ongoing at the bargaining table for weeks now. There have been constructive advances and offers, and we're very hopeful that we're going to be able to resolve this.
The federal government has been in negotiations for new collective agreements with public servants for more than 12 months.